Welcome to MFSN NFL Football Fantasy Talk with Casey Flat to the Bone Shinefold, and I'm Ross the Boss. Week 1, Casey Shinefold, week 1. How excited are you? Just tell me from a scale from 1 through 10. Go.
Oh, I'm at 12. How's that? I just 2 days away from opening kickoff. I mean,
2 days. And we got the first, what we're going to do in this, let's say 40 minutes. Let's try to cut it down. We're going to talk about each game basically and talk about what fantasy impact player you should play and what players I and you think will be a bust. So I think that's the easiest way to do it. And then next week we'll do that. Plus we'll do waiver wire. We'll give our waiver wire pickups also. So we'll kind of combine the both on Tuesday. And I think that's the most easiest way for people to figure out who they start this week because they just drafted their team. And they just found out that one of their first round picks may not play. I don't think he's going to play. Is Travis Kelce? He hyperextended his knee in practice today, and that's a huge loss. I mean, Casey. Luckily, you and I didn't draft Travis Kelce in our leagues, just because I think picking a tight end in the first round is tough to do unless it's best ball or something. I can see maybe that, but. Just in fantasy wise, tight ends are usually position I kind of wait for. How about you? Do you have any Travis Kelce stock this year?
I think I have him in one or two leagues actually. In best ball drafts.
I did too. I did too. I did
7 or 8 and Kelce was available. I took him. I got to be honest.
Yeah, it's funny. Let's still talk about the draft real quick. I mean, I had a draft yesterday. I had a draft on Sunday. I draft on every day. And a player that's moving up in my ratings that I'm taking late in the first round, second round, that I think is going to have a great year. And it's totally not Ross the Boss because I hate this team the most of any team in the NFL. I'm taking Tony Pollard in a lot of my leagues. I just feel he's going to be leading the league in rushing.
Well, he's been, I mean, let's be honest. The guy was pretty studly last year, and that was with Zeke vulturing some of the plays. I mean, he's 25, I think he turns this year. He's a good receiving back. He showed he can break off big chunk plays time and time again last year. It's a smart pick. I mean, he's got to be in the top 5 running backs, I would think.
Yeah, I mean, I really for some reason I was reading something recently about the Cowboys and their offensive line, how they've been signing all their players to long-term contracts and stuff, and how their line's a top 5 line. And I'm saying to myself, I mean, they're just going to hand the ball to Pollard till he dies. I mean, there's not going to be a second guy like a Zeke Elliott anymore.
No, there's young kids on the roster, but nobody proven, that's for sure.
Yeah, there's Deuce Vaughn. They have a few good backs. I'm not saying they're bad. I'm just saying that I just feel Tony Pollard's somebody that went up a lot since I've been starting drafting the past couple of weeks. Anybody you've been drafting that you've been saying you didn't really start drafting him, and then this week you just decided, boom, he's somebody that you're looking at?
Yeah, I've been targeting Jahmyr Gibbs a lot. I think,
Alabama.
Yeah, the rookie out of Alabama. I see Detroit kind of seeing a Christian McCaffrey type of role for him because he's a pass catcher who can run with the ball, breaks off big plays, kind of the same size and quickness as McCaffrey. And if he can stay healthy, I mean, McCaffrey those first couple of years was nuts. So that's somebody who I'm looking at in the second round. And I've even gotten
second round. Wow, that's
at the end of the second. I've gotten him in the third round a couple times.
Yeah. I mean, I think he's more of a third round guy, but I totally get it. Talking about Detroit Lions, Casey, they opened the season up in Kansas City this Thursday night. And I just told you the horrible news about Travis Kelce probably not going to play. They haven't made it official. I'm just speculating. When they say a player is uncertain, that's not a good sign.
Right.
And I don't think they're going to risk him getting hurt worse.
Not in the first game.
On the first game. It's stupidity. It's a 17-game season.
Especially a soft tissue type of injury,
Yeah, there's no reason to push it. You're getting your rings. You're the Super Bowl champions. You're at home. It's going to be a great time. Don't risk Kelce. It's a stupidity idea. So let's talk on the Kansas City side. I mean, Mahomes, I have him as the number 1 quarterback this week just because I mean, I have nothing else to base on except last year's stats. So I'm just going with Mahomes as for sure start. What do you think about Pacheco? There's their running back. Would you start him or would you lay
I
off him?
wouldn't. I'm going to lay off him the first
Okay.
week. Because I want to see how that backfield shakes out. It's not like he is I mean, don't get me wrong. He's clearly probably the best pure running back in that rotation with Edwards-Helaire and McKinnon, but especially with Kelsey out, like I could see McKinnon getting a lot of run as the guy who's kind of doing those Kelsey routes in the intermediate areas of the field. So I would want to see what's going to happen first.
So
It could be a shootout.
I agree with you. The over-under is 54 points. I think it's going to be a shootout. I agree 1,000% it's going to be a shootout with you. 100%.
So
the receiver I'm taking for Kansas City to pick up or to start is Sky Moore. He caught a touchdown in the Super Bowl, even though he isn't supposed to be the main receiver. I guess the other receiver, your guy Tony, like ran the wrong route, and Moore benefited because he ran the right route. And he scored the touchdown. So I'm taking Sky Moore. Any other receivers in Kansas City I should start?
Oh, gosh. No, I don't think so. I don't think you can trust Rashee Rice. I don't think you can
Rookie,
trust.
right? Yeah.
Is Kadarius Toney even playing? I think he's hurt, isn't he? Justin Ross got a lot of buzz in the preseason and certainly could have a role in the game. But the first week of the season, you want to see what these guys can do.
So, well, I mean, I think he's going to put the 300 yards. Somebody's catching the ball, Casey Scheinfeld. Give me one name.
Well, then it's Sky Moore. I think I'd go Sky Moore. Then honestly, I would go with Justin Ross after that.
Okay. I mean, somebody's catching the ball. I mean, he's not throwing it to thin air. Now, let's talk Detroit. Detroit's a team that is getting a lot of press. They started out horribly last year. Then they picked it up. They're a fun team to watch.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, who do you start on Detroit? And I'll give you my analysis after you're done.
Well, as I've already told you, I'm starting Jahmyr Gibbs. I like him a lot, and Amon-Ra St. Brown. Those are the two you definitely have to start. Jared Goff is notoriously pretty bad on the road in looking at his numbers, so I'd probably shy away from him if you're in a 1 quarterback league. If you're in a 2 quarterback league, I think he's fine as a number 2. If you have a high upside number 1, a high floor, kind of one of those top 5 or 6 quarterbacks. I like Sam Laporta. I think he could be good. You and I talk about it all the time. There hasn't really been a good rookie tight end since Ditka. So it's hard to recommend starting him. So
for Green Bay, I think, yeah.
I'm starting 2 on Detroit, and that's Jahmyr Gibbs and Amon-Ra St. Brown.
I think Goff will have a good game because just how the script reads out, I think it's going to be a shootout. I think they'll be throwing the ball a lot. I see Goff having over 300 yards. And I agree with you. If you don't have to start Goff, I probably wouldn't. But if it's a super flex league, I would. If I have a super flex league and I have Goff, I probably start him. Yes, absolutely. So Thursday night, I think it's going to be high scoring. It's going to be an exciting game. It's Thursday night. The ratings will be high. And just expect a high scoring affair, and a lot of fantasy players will.
I honestly think without Kelsey, that hurts. I would take the under at this point because I mean, I love Patrick Mahomes. Don't get me wrong; he's probably the highest floor and one of the higher ceilings of any quarterbacks. But even for him, missing a security blanket is pretty important when he's got all these other young guys running routes for him. You can't count on Valdez Scantling. Is it Valdez Scantling? Is he the other?
I don't know. I mean, the other guys are just like
so
it's like appetizers.
I could see it being a lower scoring game. So I would take.
You think so?
Under.
Okay, that's fine.
Under. That would be.
So let's go Sunday, Casey. I know you'll be up early. It's early for me. It's 10 o'clock. It's 1 o'clock for you. This game, Houston is in Baltimore. Lamar Jackson just signed that huge deal. I love him. I love Zay Flowers. I just think that this kid's going to be a star.
Yeah.
I don't have much respect for the running backs for Baltimore. I don't know if Dobbins. I have no idea if he's playing. No idea.
It's a health issue with Dobbins. I mean, he's shown how talented he is.
I mean, I love him, but I just don't trust he'll play. I think Lamar's going to be a top 5 quarterback this week. I think that's a great start. And then I love Zay Flowers. Anybody else on Baltimore? I'd like their defense too. I like the Baltimore defense this week. If you play defenses, I also love. I have him as my number one tight end this week because Kelsey's not playing. Is Mark Andrews? Who do you like on Baltimore?
So Baltimore is playing the Texans. I like Lamar Jackson. I actually don't mind J.K. Dobbins. If Mandrews is healthy, I like Mandrews a lot. Obviously,
Andrews is playing.
I don't know who to take as a wide receiving core. I don't think I would start any of them because I'd want to see what happens in the first week or two. Unless, look, if I used a lot of draft capital as to put Zay Flowers or Rashad Bateman as my number 2 or number 3 wide receiver, I'm going to run him out there. But I'm afraid OBJ could show his face and take some of the thunder. The Texans have a decent secondary. That's kind of the strength of their defense.
Who in the Texans do you want to start? I mean,
oh geez.
I mean, CJ
Dameon Pierce. I would start Dameon Pierce because he's going to get most of the run. I'm not starting Nico Hollins or Mechie yet. I'm certainly not going to start. They just took Dalton Schultz, didn't they?
They sent Dalton Schultz to 1-year contract. And being a rookie quarterback, I can see them using the tight end a lot more.
Yeah, I could see Schultz being maybe a low end tight end 2 this week. I don't see him being a tight end 1. So I'm going to stay away from them. I think Baltimore could blitz a lot and see what CJ Stroud is able to do against a real NFL defense. Rookie quarterback. Is the game on the road?
It's on the road. Yeah, it's in Baltimore. Like I said, Baltimore's a 10-point favorite.
And it's supposed to be literally 90 degrees here. So
it's supposed to be very hot in Baltimore. Expecting
it's 100 degrees right now in Pennsylvania. So I can only imagine what it'll be like.
Yeah, it's going to be hot in Baltimore, and it's going to be a lot of humidity. It's going to be hot, and it's going to be ugly conditions for football players, just because it's going to be hard to breathe. Let's go to the next game. The team I think that improved the most during the offseason, the Atlanta Falcons, especially their defense, is at home against Carolina, who I think could be one of the worst teams in the league this year. Just a hunch. Atlanta, Bijan Robinson, you got to start, I assume.
Yeah, you have to start Bijan.
I like Drake London a lot, Casey. I think Kyle Pitts is going to have a bounce year. I think he'll have a good year this year. So those are 3 right there that I like. And also, and I also love this. I also love their defense this year too against Carolina. I think that should be a good matchup.
That's another rookie quarterback starting his first game on the road.
Anybody else in Atlanta that you think that could step up?
I'm not going to start him, but I'm curious to see what Algiers' role is this year. I still think they could split Robinson out a few times into the receiving patterns and give Algiers some run. I still think he's going to be a viable fantasy player, but I don't think he's startable in week 1.
Carolina, do you trust their new running back they got from the?
Yeah, I'm going to start Miles Sanders if I drafted him.
Starting Miles, I think he'll catch the ball. I think he'll rush a lot.
Yeah.
Anybody else that catches your eye on Carolina that you think should be a good fantasy
The only other one I would consider is Adam Thielen. People forget that this guy is just reliable. I mean, he's not going to be flashy. He's going to be more of a volume receiver than the big play receiver. He wasn't even a big play receiver in Minnesota, but he was a 1,000-yard receiver 3 or 4 years in a row. I think he's not an elite athlete, but I think Bryce Young is going to rely on him a lot. So you could see him get a lot of targets. I could see him with 5 or 6 catches, 60 or 70 yards and a touchdown.
I like it. So the next game, I'm actually excited for Cincinnati is at the Mistake at the Lake. They're in Cleveland. I like, I'm a huge Bengal fan. Let's talk about Cleveland first, Casey. Who do you start on the Cleveland side?
I'm starting Deshaun Watson if I have him as in a 2-quarterback league. It depends who your starting quarterback is, obviously. This is a guy who can run and pass. You're starting Amari Cooper. Obviously, you're starting Nick Chubb. I don't think anybody is gonna sit Nick Chubb against anyone, and nor should they ever. I might start Njoku depending on who I've drafted at tight end. Elijah Moore got a lot of love in the preseason and might end up being pretty special. Cedric Tillman is a hot rookie receiver for them, but the only 3 I would start probably guaranteed would be Chubb, Cooper, and Watson.
Like it. And then the Bengals, Zach
Start
Taylor.
'em all.
Zach Taylor today, they asked him, is Burrow starting? And he said, I'm not quite sure, which isn't a great sign, but
I
you
think
could
it's a
just,
yes. He's playing his boy.
I mean, he's been practicing full on with pads on, so it's not like there's nothing wrong with the guy. He's playing. And then, of course, you start Higgins and Chase and I guess Mixon. I also like the Bengals defense against Cleveland this week. I think they're a top 10. I think they could score, actually. I think Watson will throw a pick, and who knows if maybe the Bengals can score with it. But anybody else in the Bengals, do you think of any surprises? Tyler Boyd, do you think he'll have a big – he always says like 2 or 3 big games, Tyler Boyd. You know, they always throw him in there, and he always –
They do, but I don't think week one's going to happen. I think if anybody's going to shock you week one, it's Irv Smith.
Irv Smith, tight end, they just, the guy they picked up. I like him too. So let's go to Pittsburgh, which I think this is the most like toughest matchup of any game. Well, the Bears, Green Bay is tough too, but this is the 49ers are in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's a horrible place to play if you're a visiting team. I mean, the fans are crazy, vapid in Pittsburgh. And the 49ers, I'm not sold on Brock Montana. Everybody's like saying this guy is the next coming. I'm like saying, guys, let's see what happens year 2. So come on. So let's talk about the home team, Pittsburgh Steelers. Who are you starting?
I am starting Freiermuth. I think he's a top 5 tight end this week.
Love it.
I'm going to start Deontay Johnson. I think if I have him, I think, there's got to be some positive regression here. The guy had 0 touchdowns last year.
Let's just stop with that. 0 touchdowns, and he played almost every week as a starting wide receiver, and he couldn't score. It's unbelievable. It's an unbelievable stat. It's great.
But I think he could do something. I'm not starting Kenny Pickett. Although Bosa's not signed, so they don't have Bosa on that D line. Nope. That takes some of the.
And he wants more money than Arnold. And he wants more money than Arnold's get. I mean, this guy. I don't know when they're going to sign this guy.
Yeah.
And Chris Jones isn't playing for Kansas City either. I forgot to tell you that. Chris Jones is. But is not going to be there, which is huge.
I'm not a huge Najee Harris fan. You and I are both
we're
Jaylen Warren fans.
Yeah.
But I don't think week 1 is the week that Jaylen Warren takes over. So I'm probably staying away from Pittsburgh's backfield this week.
Like it. And then let's talk 49ers. Of course, CMC. Of course, you're starting McCaffrey. Of course, you're starting a nuke because he went to Arizona State.
Well, yeah, you got to.
I would stay away
from, isn't he?
Who?
Kittle's hurt, isn't he?
Kittle is 50-50. They haven't officially said if he's playing or not. He's questionable. More stuff will come out probably Wednesday. That's the official day when they make.
It's a groin injury, which is one of those things that
horrible.
Even if he plays,
he gets hurt every year. This guy's hurt. I mean, come on. I stayed away from Kittle in a lot of my leagues. Anybody else with the 49ers?
Deebo Samuel, I think you got to run out there. You're not going to start Brock Montana. I don't think anybody is. Maybe in a 2 quarterback league as your second quarterback if you're desperate, if you need somebody. But I think Deebo, Ayuk, and McCaffrey are the only ones viable.
Okay, Casey, this is the most exciting game in the whole menu. Are you ready? You'll be watching from minute 1 to minute 60.
Sunday Night Football?
No, it's the Arizona Cardinals at the Washington Commanders. Let's start with Washington. Anybody would start in Washington? Say yes or no.
Yes.
Who? I'm curious. Who?
I'm starting Dotson, and I'm
Penn
going to
State
start.
Kid. I like that. Okay.
I think Brian Robinson is worth starting as well.
When he's healthy and he plays. Remember last year he shot twice in the leg.
Right.
Yeah.
He hasn't been shot this year, and he had a good preseason. So I'm going to run him out there.
I like it.
I'm not. Terry McLaurin has a toe injury. Curtis Samuel's not really startable.
Right.
I want to see this. I don't want to throw Antonio Gibbs 2 running backs in the same backfield out there. So Brian Robinson, and I like Jahan Dotson. So
love it. And then I think the worst team in the NFL, the Arizona. I don't know who you have as your worst team, but mine.
The Arizona Caleb Williams.
Yeah, they're just playing for Caleb Williams. I mean, I guess I would start Connor just because there's no one else playing running back, and they'll hand the ball to him 25 times. Connor. I mean, right? 25 times.
That's the only one I'd start.
Hollywood Brown, I probably would sit. I don't know who their starting quarterback is. Maybe you do. I don't know who it is.
Josh Dobbs or whatever his name is.
I mean, they just traded for him last week. All of a sudden, he knows the playbook, and it's a magic trick, and he knows the playbook in a week. I'll find out. It doesn't matter. You're not starting him anyway. Let's talk about the Minnesota Vikings are hosting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Casey, who do you start in Minnesota?
Well, Minnesota, I'm starting Kirk Cousins. I think,
Yep.
I mean, because he's got Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and TJ Hawkinson to throw to. I'm going to start I mean, I don't have to say it, right? JJ's
Yeah, he's
starting.
like the number one guy. He's the number one. Like
Hawkinson is going to start for me too.
Just signed the biggest deal of any tight end.
I'm probably not starting Addison week 1. Again,
Really?
I like to see what rookie wide receiver, unless I have to, right? It depends on the depth of your bullpen.
In a 3 wide receiver league, I would say you probably are starting him, unless you had some crazy draft where you got like top tier receivers. So
and I'm going to give Madison run if I have Madison. You know, because you have to start 2 running backs, if not 3 in most leagues.
Does Ty Chandler mean anything to you? Do you think he'll take the job away from Madison? Madison did not look good in preseason. I mean, I watched.
I don't think he's going to take it away quickly if he does.
I like this Ty Chandler. He led the NCAAs in like breakout runs. I mean, this guy was a beast, and we all know Madison can't have any breakout runs at all. He's too fat, so the guy has no speed anymore. He gained too much weight. So there you go. So if you can pick up Ty Chandler and you have Madison, that's probably a good idea right now. I think he'll be the starting running back by week 6. Let's talk. Jacksonville is at Indianapolis. This is another lopsided
well, wait,
game.
Before you go there, we didn't talk about Tampa Bay. Are we saying
okay?
Are we starting anyone on Tampa Bay? I'm going to run Rachaad White out there if I have him. I
guess Mike Evans, just because every year he played, he's had over 1,000 yards, and he wants out. He's been vocal. The Cowboys have been talking to Tampa Bay about trading for Mike Evans. That's the rumor going around. But I think Mike Evans, if he's playing, he'll show up and he wants the ball. But Tampa Bay's off. I'm worried about Mayfield. I'm worried about that offensive line is horrendous. They lost their all-pro lineman. I guess he's out too. So, I mean, Tampa Bay is going to be lucky to win 6 games this year. They're not a good team. They lost a lot of their defense too. So I'm very concerned about Tampa Bay in their fantasy players. So I did not draft any Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
No, I haven't either. I have Rachaad White in Dynasty. That's all.
Yeah, he went to a great college, as you all know.
DeAndre Swift sizzling.
Yeah. So let's talk Jacksonville. Jacksonville's at home. No, they're at Indianapolis. The Colts are hosting.
Oh my God. They're battling Arizona to see who's going to be the worst team.
So the Colts are starting Richardson. Would you start him if you had him in your league? I mean, if you drafted Richardson, would you play him at home against Jacksonville? Is that a good start for you? Or would you
I would not.
You stay away.
We have a trade question for you, Ross.
Okay, go.
He got offered Breece Hall for Chris Godwin.
I was offered Breece Hall. So is he getting?
He would be getting Breece Hall.
Okay, I would press accept immediately on that. Yes, take Breece Hall. Breece Hall is going to have a huge year. Before he got hurt last year, he looked like a beast. I know they got Cook there, but doesn't matter. Breece Hall's the man, and I think he's going to be at least a top 10 running back in the NFL this year. At least that's minimal.
I think at the course of the season, Breece Hall is going to be a bigger impact. I think the first 3 to 4 weeks, you might not see a very good version of Breece Hall and might worry if you made the right call. But I think as he gets stronger, as his knee gets healthier, Dalvin Cook is going to allow him to get stronger. But then Dalvin Cook is going to break down. Let's be honest; he's never been healthy for a whole year. You're gonna have a number 1 running back, and you're going to have gotten it for a number 3 wide receiver
on a bad team.
Well, he's a number 1 wide receiver, but it's on a bad team, so he's a number 3 wide receiver.
Oh, that's disputable too, because I think Mike Evans is number 1 guy. But that's me. I can be subjective. This is a long question, Casey. You don't have to.
All right, I'll read it for you.
My reading skills are not the best.
PPR 12-team redraft. He got offered Jamar Chase and Patrick Mahomes, but he has to give up Trevor Lawrence, DK Metcalf, and Derrick Henry. He still has James Cook and DeAndre Swift.
Press accept.
Yeah, I would do it too, because I'm not a big Derrick Henry guy this year. I'm worried about he's turning 30 during the season.
Yep.
He's had over 380 touches in like 3 of the last 4 years, and they have Taj Spears as his backup, who I think is going to be really good.
And their offensive line is not good in Tennessee.
And their offensive line sucks. And you are getting, to me, who's the number 1 wide receiver in fantasy this year. I think Chase is better than Jefferson this year. And Trevor and Mahomes, I love Trevor Lawrence, but it's still Patrick Mahomes. You're still getting the highest floor of any quarterback. So
highest floor, guys. Every game, 3 touchdowns, 300 yards. It's like every game.
And my belief. Oh wait, no. He says, wait, no. I have Mahomes and Jamar. Okay, don't make that trade. So you'd be getting Lawrence, Metcalf, and Henry. No,
keep
never
Chase
mind.
and keep Mahomes.
Yeah, I mean,
you've been smoking too much funny stuff, whatever.
No,
but,
I like that he realized.
Horrible idea.
I would rather have the Chase Mahomes side of that trade.
Yes. Chase Mahomes, you have the 2 top players in their positions. Enough said.
Even without Kelsey, how do y'all think about Mahomes?
You got to start him. He's
the closest thing to a Tom Brady type who, despite who his wide receivers were, he still produced, right? He creates good wide receivers out of whoever he has in front of him.
Casey, it's Thursday night, opening night in Kansas City. If you have Mahomes, you're starting him. I mean, there's no doubt.
With Kelsey out, you could see McKinnon get 2 touchdowns, right?
I agree.
So I'm willing to go out on a limb and say you're talking 325, 3 touchdowns as a minimum.
No, that's not going on the limb with Mahomes. That's what I said. That's a night at the office for Mahomes. 325 yards and 3 touchdowns. That's the norm. That's
he might run one in just to frustrate.
He's at home getting his ring and his wife and his kids there. I mean, it's gonna be a slaughter.
Yeah.
And people are saying Detroit has a chance against Kansas City. I just laugh in their face. I said, you have no idea what you're talking about. Like, Kansas City's not going to lose at home getting their Super Bowl rings against Detroit.
And Jared Goff on the road, if you look at his numbers, they're not strong on the road.
And I've been to that stadium. It's the loudest place I've ever been to. And it's the worst stadium just because there's one way in, one way out. There's no other roads. There's no shortcut to that stadium. It's middle of nowhere. There's one road in, one road out. It takes hours to get it. It's horribly placed. They should really build a new stadium, but that's not up to me. So let's talk. Anybody on Jacksonville? Calvin Ridley to me is going to be like comeback player of the year.
I think against the Colts, you start a lot of Jacksonville.
I mean, you got Travis and DM. I mean, tell me who you start on the Colt
if I have Trevor Lawrence, I'm starting him unless I have Mahomes or Jalen Hurts or somebody above him. I'm starting ETN. I'm starting Calvin Ridley. I'm starting Evan Engram. I wouldn't start Tank Bigsby until I see how they're using him. But those Christian Kirk, I might even run out there. Yeah, as a wide receiver 3 or a flex. I'm not starting Zay Jones yet, though. He's the 5th option there.
So let's go to, this is a big rivalry game, Casey. This game is, both these teams hate each other for years. They've been in the same division and conference for years. Raiders, the Las Vegas Raiders at Denver. Denver's at home, Casey. Russell Wilson wants that comeback player of the year title. He wants to really show off. The Raiders defense is bad. So do you start Russell Wilson if you have him? Or I know it depends on who else you have.
Yeah. If I'm in a 2 quarterback league, Russell Wilson is my second quarterback.
But let's see, you have Russell Wilson and you have Trevor Lawrence. Who do you start?
Trevor Lawrence. Okay. The only time I would consider it is if I am running a stack, and I don't know who I would stack him with. Maybe Cortland Sutton. Because Judy's hurt.
Judy's not playing. He's out for the first couple of weeks. That's the rumor. Now, what do you do with their
backfield?
Their backfield with Williams, who's coming off a major injury.
Yeah, I'm going to wait a couple weeks and see what Williams can do. Because you didn't draft him as your running back 1. You could have gotten him in the 7th, 6th, 7th, 8th round, and you should have already gotten a 1 there. I want to see, I think early on you could see a 50-50 split with Pirine, who Cincinnati fans blame for a loss, an important loss.
I do, but Pirine's getting 50% of the handoffs. That's the rumor.
I'm gonna avoid.
That's what the coach said. I'm just repeating. I'm not predicting. I'm just saying what
I think a sneaky play could be Dulcich, the tight end.
Dulcich is a great one just because Judy's hurt.
And with Judy hurt, he's going to be the number 2. Marvin Mims will get some run.
Marvin Mims, I like the ex-Jet.
A rookie wide receiver. So
I like that. So the Raiders, of course, Jacobs,
Devontae Adams and Jacobs are the only two you can
Only
trust.
two. That's it. Nothing else to talk about. Okay, Miami is here in Los Angeles, Casey. They're playing the Chargers, who I think are going to be a good team this year.
Oh, they're a good team.
I mean, the Chargers, I start Herbert. I think he's going to be a huge game.
Yeah.
300 yards, a couple touchdowns at least.
Eckler, you have to start.
Eckler, top 5 running back this week for sure. Keenan Allen, I would start. Mike Williams, okay. I would start. Would you start the? I guess I wouldn't start the rookie Johnston.
No, you're not starting Quentin Johnston. I don't think you're starting Gerald Everett yet.
I like Gerald Everett just because last year he in third down situations he was the key guy. Yeah. And he wears number 7. He looks like a receiver out there. Anybody else in San Diego? I just did it again. Anybody else on the Los Angeles Chargers?
No, that's it. And then the Dolphins, it's Tua, Hill, and Waddle. I think that's the only ones you can start.
Do the Waddle for me real quick. Okay, thanks. Seahawks are playing the other team that I think is going to be one of the worst records, the LA Rams, or I call them the Lambs. The Lambs are horrible, Casey. I mean, their defense, there's just one recognizable player now, Arnold. Yeah. That's it. And Cooper Kupp is not going to play. They haven't made it official, but Ross the Boss is making it official. Cooper Kupp will not play the first week. Do you start Van Jefferson? Do you start Atwell? Do you start I do like Cam Akers. I
like Cam Akers. I like Van Jefferson.
I like Van Jefferson too. He's the number 2 receiver, but he's going to move up to number 1 because Cooper Kupp.
Those are the only 2 guys on LA that I would.
And if I'm a Cooper Kupp if I drafted Cooper Kupp in the first round, first of all, I didn't because I knew this guy was hurt. He's been hurt ever since the spring. You're an idiot if you drafted him. That's all I got to say. I received Deshaun Watson, Bashan Robinson, Calvin Ridley. I love the last 2. I love. I don't like Deshaun Watson.
He's not a Deshaun Watson fan, right? He gives away Lamar, Tony Pollard, and Chris Godwin. Ooh. Wow, that's tough because I like Ridley better than Godwin. I actually like Bijan and Pollard about the same, but I do like Lamar better than I like Watson. It depends who your other wide receivers are.
I'm worried about Deshaun Watson. I'm worried that, I'm just worried about Deshaun Watson. He just looked so bad last year, Trey. I don't know what you can. I just hope you have a good backup. That's all I got to say. Because I did a draft yesterday and I picked Herbert.
Hold on a second. If I'm looking at your statement from earlier on today, you could trade Godwin for Breece Hall and have Tony Pollard, Breece Hall with Lamar Jackson.
Yes.
He also has Stephon Diggs and Mike Williams. I would do the first trade. I would get Breece Hall and then not trade away Lamar Jackson and
his backup's Geno Smith, which is good. I mean, Geno's not going to have the same year he had last year.
No, but he's not going to kill you.
He's not going to get some very average, but let's just hope Deshaun Watson. I mean, he was awesome before all the craziness happened in Houston. I mean, he was a great fantasy player, and then as soon as all these massages happened and all this crazy stuff came out, it was all downhill for this guy.
Soft tissue work, but no. So Trey, to get back to what you're saying, you could you're either looking at having Deshaun Watson, Bijan Robinson, Calvin Ridley with Mike Williams and Stephon Diggs, or Lamar Jackson, Tony Pollard, Breece Hall with Mike Williams and Stephon Diggs. I would rather have the latter. I would rather have Breece Hall and Tony Pollard and Bijan Robinson. No, you wouldn't have Bijan.
You wouldn't have Bijan, no, Casey.
Tony Pollard and Breece Hall, to me, is better than just Bijan Robinson.
I like Tony Pollard this year. As I mentioned before, he's somebody that I've been drafting a lot in my drafts. I feel he's going to have a huge year, and I feel he could lead the league in touchdowns, actually. Another guy for the Rams, and we'll move on, is I like Tyler Higbee, the tight end for the Rams, just because Cooper Kupp is out. And I think Higbee could have a huge game against Seattle. It's just a hunch, Casey. I can have hunches. That's what I do. So I think Higbee could at least have 1 touchdown, which is huge for any tight end. So if you can pick him up or can start him, I think it's not a bad start. Let's talk about the Eagles are in New England. Let's talk about the Patriots first. I'm just curious, who do you start on the Patriots team? I know, like
Ramondre Stevenson. I think that's the only one I'm running out there.
I agree. I can't name 3 receivers on the Patriots.
They have Juju now, Smith-Schuster.
Yeah, and what's
That-
Tennessee?
that's about it.
There's no okay. And then let's talk about Philadelphia, who I think has the best NFL roster of any team, and then we'll take the question. On the Eagles, I guess we'll start, Hurts,
Jalen Hurts,
Smith,
you're starting AJ Brown, you're
AJ
starting
Brown,
Devontae
Smith,
you're starting
Smith,
Dallas
Brown.
Goedert. I don't know who you're starting in the backfield. I would want to start Rashad Penny of all of them, but I would want to see how.
I think Swift. I have a feeling, even though I think they just wanted to motivate him during the preseason. I think Swift, his numbers, like he has like crazy numbers, like after he catches the ball and after he runs, like he breaks a lot of tackles. Like I think he was number 1 last year in the league. So he has some crazy stats, like running wise. I would try to not start anybody in the backfield for Philadelphia this week.
No, I would avoid it. Right.
I would avoid it. I know it's tempting, but I'm worried about Gainwell. I mean, all these guys are going to get the ball,
So, all right,
But I do like the passing core. They're
10 team half PPR.
Go.
Quarterback is Trevor Lawrence. Wide receivers Ridley and Allen.
Love it.
Running backs Saquon and Pollard.
Love it.
Tight end is Hawkinson.
Okay, so what's your problem?
Flex question.
Okay.
Dotson, Pickens, Sky Moore, Adam Thielen, Alexander Madison, McKinnon, or Kincaid. Well, get rid of Kincaid. You're not starting
Kincaid, I think,
tight end in the flex.
Kincaid with Buffalo is going to be. I mean, I watched some preseason games. That's how much time I have.
I'm starting. If it's me, it's.
Kincaid is more of a slot receiver now. He lines up as a slot guy. I mean, that's what they're doing in Buffalo with him. So he's going to get the ball. But my guy is just because it's Thursday night and it's opening night in Kansas City. I would start Sky Moore. That's me.
To me, it's Sky Moore or Jahan Dotson. You got to pick who you're most comfortable with. Okay, he also has a 14-team half-point PPR.
Sky Moore, yeah.
Geno is his quarterback. Chase and Devonta Smith are his wide receivers.
Yeah.
Najee and Cam Akers are his running backs.
Like Cam, yeah.
Dalton Schultz is his tight end for the flex. Dotson, Moore, DJ Moore, Elijah Moore, Hunter Renfrow, Breece Hall, Kareem Hunt. Has he signed?
He hasn't signed yet.
Okay, Dulcich and Ferguson. I'm going with Dotson or DJ Moore there. I mean,
because Bryce Hall isn't
quite healthy yet.
Yeah,
at the tight end, I'm probably throwing out I'm probably putting Jake Ferguson out there because Dallas has had a top 10 tight end like 6 of the last 7 years.
They're playing the Giants, and
they're playing the Giants.
Should be a high scoring game. I like Dulcich of Denver. They're playing the Raiders. I feel it's going to be a high scoring game both ways. And there's no Judy, so I would start Dulcich at tight end over Schultz. That's me. And flex wise, you know what? I'll probably go with the new sign DJ Moore.
Because he's at least a clear number 1 on an offense.
I would go with DJ Moore. I think that Green Bay defense is horrible, and we haven't got to the game yet, but we're close. It's actually the next game we're talking about. Let's talk about Green Bay, Chicago.
Okay.
KC, for the Bears, who are you starting?
Justin Fields, absolutely starting him. Khalil Herbert, I'm going to run out there, and DJ Moore and Cole Kmet. I might start Cole Kmet if I have him at tight end.
You said what I was going to. Green Bay, KC, I'll take. Jordan Love is a big question mark. I'm rooting for this kid. I am
too.
I hope he does well. I don't know if I would start him the first week. Aaron Jones for sure I would start. Christian Watson
I'm starting.
I love Christian Watson.
Well, Christian Watson, his one game with Jordan Love last year was like 4 catches, 114 yards and a touch or something like that.
Yeah.
So
would you start Musgrave? Musgrave is their tight end.
Again, it's a rookie. I mean,
I agree. I'm just asking.
It depends. Again, it always depends. If I waited too long to draft a tight end and it's between like him and Hunter Henry and Evan Ingram and Sam Laporta, and then I'd probably run him out there. But if I drafted one of the big 5 or one of the big 3 or 4, then except Kelsey, obviously, I would probably start him.
Okay, Casey, we got Sunday Night Football. I know where you're going to be. You'll be in your man cave. You'll be locking the door.
I will be telling my kids and wife to leave me alone.
Your wife, your son might come down. He may be allowed in the room, maybe
just for a little bit. He'll want to talk soccer.
But it's going to be a great game. The Cowboys are at New York,
in the Meadowlands, in New Jersey.
In New Jersey, MetLife Stadium. Who are you starting in the Giants?
Meadowlands to me. In the Giants, I'm going to start. Saquon,
No,
and Darren Waller.
you
That's
don't have it. I like Waller too. I think Waller's going to have a big game.
Danny
I think
Jones. If it's a 2-quarterback league, I'm running Daniel Jones
Danny
out there,
Dimes. I love Danny
but I'm
Dimes.
not running him out there in a single quarterback.
No receivers on the
I think
Giants, even though I do like Darius Slayton. I think he'll have a good year.
I think
he's
Micah
gonna be,
Parsons could have 5 sacks.
why are you saying that? Okay, let's talk about the Cowboys. Dak Prescott, who
I'm
not a
starting
big
Dak
fan of.
Prescott. I'm starting Tony Pollard. I'm starting
going.
CeeDee Lamb.
Yep.
And maybe Jake Ferguson.
There you
And
go.
I might even start the Dallas defense if I had to throw a defense
Dallas
out
defense, interesting. Oh, interesting. Okay. So let's talk about September 11th is a Monday, and that's when the Jets are at home against
there. 2
Buffalo.
New York teams. Well done by the NFL, by the way.
Yep. The Jets, it's Aaron Rodgers' big premiere. Couldn't ask for a better venue, even though it's on ESPN, and I'm a Spectrum user, so I don't get ESPN right now, but I do have ways to get it. So I had been watching I have ways to watch, of course.
You're Ross the boss.
Of course, I have ways. But it should be a great game. I'm rooting for Aaron Rodgers. If I had him in a league, just depends who other quarterbacks I have. I probably would start him just because it's Aaron Rodgers and it's Monday Night Football and they're playing Buffalo. It's like, can't ask for anything more.
Right.
I mean, who else? Do you start Cook? Do you start Hall? Do you start Wilson? Who do you start, Casey, for the Jets?
I'm starting Garrett Wilson. Absolutely.
Yep.
I'm starting a running back, it's Dalvin Cook in week 1.
Okay.
I'm not an Aaron Rodgers guy this year.
I know you're not, but I just, you know what? He's such like a folk hero in Green Bay, and now he's in New York. And if I had him in a league where I didn't have like a top tier quarterback, I would.
Yeah, I might run him out there because it is the Monday night game.
It's Monday night. I mean,
and it's going to be there for the Jets to try to parade how smart they were in signing this guy. So
one of Ross's rules is if you have a player that's playing either Thursday night or Monday night, and it's close between the two, like who you're starting, you start the guy that's playing primetime.
Unless it's Andy Dalton.
Andy Dalton, you always bet against.
On prime time.
I always tell people to take their mortgage out, fly to Vegas, and put everything they got against Andy Dalton. You'll be a rich man.
Yeah.
Did I ever tell you the story? I met this gambler. Quick gambling story. I don't know why I'm bringing it up.
We don't condone gambling here on.
No, but this guy in Vegas he was an Asian guy, and the floor manager told me you can't talk to this guy. If he talks to you, great, but he's like one of our biggest clients. He comes here and bets crazy money on baseball. And he wins a lot. I mean, and he came up to me, and I don't know why. Maybe who knows? But he came up to me and we were talking, and he said, "I put my kids through school betting this one pitcher." And I said, "What do you mean?" He says, "I would bet against Nolan Ryan because his numbers were like minus 300. It was like to win if you bet $1, you get $3 back if he loses, and Nolan Ryan would lose games more than anybody." And because he would always lose games, and he said, I put all my kids through college because I bet against Nolan Ryan. It's crazy. I don't know why I thought of that, but we're just talking about betting. But I'm not saying gambling's good. I'm just saying that you pick and choose what you bet on. Okay, so let's talk Monday Night Football.
Buffalo.
I mean, the Buffalo Bills now. Who are you starting on that team?
I love the Jets defense this year, and I think Sauce Gardner is going to shut down Stephon Diggs. So I'm probably avoiding Stephon Diggs, which is hard to say. He might be your number 1 wide receiver. I guess you have to run him out there if you used a first or second round pick on him. I get it. But in daily fantasy, I would avoid him. Okay. Josh Allen, I'm going to keep going because I think he could at least be the goal line back and run in a touchdown, if not 2 there. I like James Cook a lot. I always like receiving backs, and he's going to be able to do a little bit of both. So those would be.
So Gabe Davis, Kincaid. Davis, Kincaid, you stay away from.
Right. Gabe Davis and Kincaid, I'm staying away from. Diggs, you got to throw out there, but I wouldn't count on anything big from him. All right, let's do a rate my squad before he goes.
Okay, we're almost done.
Just so you know, it's only an 18 PPR, so it better be pretty good. Jones and David Carr as quarterback. Cup, Hop, Flat. This is an 18. I'm sorry, I'm not a huge fan of this. Okay, Daniel Jones and David Carr. You didn't get any.
No, you did not draft that great. This can't be an 8-team league. There's no way.
Unless it's 18 team.
Maybe it's 18 team, but as we know, Cooper Kupp is hurt, so that
You didn't get any like D Hop. I like D Hop this year. Kupp is hurt. Flowers has potential. Christian,
I love Trey Flowers.
okay.
I love Flowers. I've had Flowers in almost every team.
I hope
Sky
this
Moore,
is 18 team.
It has to be 18. Pacheco, it has to. I mean, no
if
way.
this is 18, you're last place. I'm just gonna be honest with you.
I can use waiver wire and beat this team with an 18.
So I don't know about waiver wire, but it'd be close. I mean, I like Tyjae Spear coming to help Tennessee later. I like Pacheco. Brian Robinson could be good, but you didn't get.
I like Pitts. I think Pitts will be a top
Cooper.
tier tight end next season. I really think it's going to be a really breakout year this year. Pitts.
I mean, Kupp was obviously your first round pick.
Who do you go number 2? Who was number
your
2
second pick?
I don't know.
I don't even know. Okay.
I hope you didn't take Pitts second.
I think you're going to struggle, Tebow. I wish you the best of luck. I hope I'm wrong for your sake, but I think you're going to struggle.
Go on waiver. Tell me who's on waiver wire, and I'll tell you who to drop and pick up on your team because there's people on 18 in an 8-team league. I'm sure there's good people.
All right, one more 10-team PPR, 2 flex.
2 flex.
Josh Allen, tight end is Mandrews. Running backs are Saquon, Javonte, JT, Brees Hall, Elijah Mitchell, Bigsby, and Algier.
Okay.
Wide receiver, CeeDee Lamb, Deontay Johnson,
I love
Jordan Addison, Tyler Lockett, Elijah
Lockett.
Moore, Nico Collins, Zay Jones. I like it. I see you went running back really heavy. I like Deontay Johnson. I'm not a huge fan of him as your number 2 wide receiver. I like CD as a 1. I would rather try to get a T Higgins type as my number 2 if possible. Your running back, Saquon, you have depth beyond depth at running back. If Javonte is healthy, you're great, especially if JT comes back in week 5 and is JT of old.
I think Javonte Williams, as soon as he starts going, I probably would try to trade him, get some value for him, and try to trade up for him. Saquon Barkley, of course, is a top 5 back. Brees Hall, as I said, he's going to start slow, but don't give up on him. He's going to have a huge year. And CMC is going to get hurt. So the Mitchell pick, don't drop him.
No.
Wherever you do Mitchell, don't drop him.
Bigsby is going to get the goal line.
And Algier, I hope Bijan doesn't get hurt. I really don't. I mean, I have him in some leagues, but I just feel he's a rookie. There's all this pressure on him, and they're going to give him a ball a lot. I'm just worried about his use and how much they use him the first few games because they can't overuse this kid. Remember, he's a rookie, and it's a whole different game playing, from pro to college. And Algier was really good last year. I watched him play in person against the Bengals in Cincinnati, and he was great. And then in your receivers, I like Lockett, I like Moore. Like Nico's going to be a surprise one. Zay Jones had a good year last year. I mean, your receivers are good.
Yep.
And Josh Allen, I'm not a fan. I'll be honest. I think he's digressing. I don't know what kind of year he's going to have this year. I hope he does well. I root for the kid. He went to Wyoming. I just don't know. I just don't think they've improved the Buffalo Bills at all compared to other teams, especially in their receiving core.
Yeah, I wondered if you could take Josh Allen and turn him into Trevor Lawrence and a number 2 wide receiver.
Yeah, I mean, I would try to dump Allen.
It's a good squad, man.
It's a good squad. You'll be competitive. You do well. Just make sure you watch our show and stay active because we're going to tell you to pick up. Because you can definitely drop either Zay Jones or Nico and pick up another player. Just don't drop Elijah Mitchell or Bigsby quite yet or Algier. Those are good safety nets to have. But again, Brian, you should be doing well and make sure you watch our show every week because we do really well with a waiver wire. We just don't know who's playing and who's not. So we got to watch these games and study this. Casey, any last comments? I have to.
Nope. We will see you guys on Thursday at 4:30 Eastern, 1:30 Pacific.
Yep. And we'll see you guys next week on Tuesday. We'll do waiver wire because we know you guys love waiver wire. You want to get your picks out there, and then we'll give you guys some picks fantasy wise who to start. And there you go. Thanks. Okay, Brian. Good. Any
trade suggestion we talked about was I would try to trade Josh. I might use Josh Allen as a trade chip, get Trevor Lawrence and a better number 2 wide receiver. Outside of that, though, you got a pretty solid squad.
Right, but I would wait till Josh Allen has one of those huge.
Yeah, let Josh Allen have one of those where I run in 2 touchdowns and throw for a touchdown or 2.
Because that's when people get excited. People love players that just had huge weeks, and that's when I like lick my lips and say, "Oh, good, I get to trade some of my players who have huge weeks," because you know those players are not going to do that every week. Okay, I'm Ross the Boss. That's Casey Vlad Scheinfeld. Have a great week, short week. See you guys.
I like it.
Time.
Have a good one.